I have a very exciting thing I want to tell you about that I've been doing for the last 2 weeks. So as most of you know, I published my book, Unbounded, From Sorrow to Summit, about 2.5 years ago. And I didn't do the audio version at that time because I thought, well, people just buy it and they'll just read it and it'll all be great. And on the audio, they can't ever see the great pictures that are inside and that kind of thing. But then I've been researching this more and more, and I have more and more people say to me, if only your book was on audio, Mary, I just don't read. 82% of our readers now are reading them on audio. So I've bit the bullet, and I've been recording. I probably have another 2 recordings left, but I'm loving doing my recording. What I'm finding is that I'm reliving the book again. The emotions, the triumphs, the sorrows. There's a box of tissues right there by me because I am just like overcome by some of these things. And I weep through words, but I'm loving it. And I think you're going to enjoy it too. So stay tuned. I'll be letting you know when the audio version is available on Amazon for my book, Unbounded. Thank you. Welcome back to Crafting a Meaningful Life. I'm Mary Crafts, and I get to be your host, and I love doing this. I love doing it because it gives me a platform to share what I'm doing about crafting a meaningful life. And I get to showcase so many wonderful people from all walks of life who are doing the same thing, crafting a meaningful life for themselves, and then shining a big spotlight on what that path looks like for us and others. And to that end, today I have this absolutely wonderful woman with me. Her name is Heather Penny. Welcome, Heather. Thanks for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And I love your play on words with your last name because my last name is Penny. So I like to say I've got a penny for your thoughts.
Brilliant.
We branded ourselves, didn't we, Mary?
Us warrior women. Okay.
I love it.
Heather, when I first found out about you and began to look into who you were and if you were a good fit for the podcast, I absolutely fell in love with you before I ever met you.
Oh, thank you, Mary.
You just like, for example, you have a retreat coming up that you're doing, or you just did. I can't remember exactly which it was, the time schedule, but, or is it you're doing it online? Is that the deal?
Well, right now I'm doing a lot of retreats, leadership retreats and conferences for organizations. So eventually though, and I've done a lot on my own for my own company, but so eventually it's coming, a grace-based retreat and a life you're made for retreat.
All right, listeners. So you can see Grace Space.
Yes.
That's the name of her new book, and why that would mean so much to me. Because you all know I'm all about living in grace.
Yes.
As a Leo, I have to really watch that because sometimes I can just like roar ahead and not take grace for myself.
Right.
And for others. And I think that is one of the keys, Penny, is that to live in a life of grace, we first have to offer it to ourselves. And then we can, of course, find that space for others. But in this retreat, and when you follow Penny, and I have all of the links at the end of this podcast, as well as the link to buying her book, you'll see as you look on her website and on her Instagram and things, LinkedIn, all these places, she has this one called, I'm going to see if I can show this to you. I don't know if I can. Interactive event and interactive learning event. And this is what it says at the top of that page, Penny. Heather, I just love this. It says, choose who you want to be.
Yep.
And now I've said that a million times to people, but sometimes when you see it and read it, it just suddenly strikes you very different. The word that struck me this time was not who you want to be, but was the word choose. That we have a choice.
Yes.
And we can choose, that we're not victims of our circumstances, of our birth order, of all the other things that have influenced us to this point. Today we can choose. Talk to me, let's start right there, with that concept of choose who you want to be. And what are some of the things that you cover in these online retreats?
Wow. Well, my preference is the face-to-face, but in the world that we live in, this is a nationwide association that's hired me to do a master class for them, and it's AGM, Association for Golf Merchandisers. What I'm finding so fascinating is it doesn't matter the industry, right? It's like people hear about me and they find about what I talk about, and this idea of choice really is a personal empowerment where I teach people you hold your own clarity, your own confidence, and your own courage within you. And that's kind of my tagline, clarity, confidence, courage, which I call 3C living and leading. But the fear is oftentimes that people don't realize they have this power. So they hand it off to others, or they say, I don't have it within me, so I'm a victim of life, or I don't have it within me, so I got to go just take it to somebody else. And hopefully, fingers crossed, they can give me something. My message, the number one thing I love, and even all my research I've done in my doctorate and my graduate work and everything, is to say, you know what, humans, you're more powerful and more amazing than you've ever known. And hopefully I can hand that back to you with some coaching tools that I love giving, but I say your clarity and my clarity get to grow synergistically together. And in that, you will find a whole new level of living that you actually can choose to become.
Mm. I love that. And you mentioned in that little clip that you have your doctorate, your PhD. When I was reading through your accolades of like who you are, first you're a professional coach, life coach, and a speaker, an author.
Yeah.
But I loved this part. You encourage individuals to step into their best life as they recognize their unique strengths they have to offer. Mm-hmm. And for me, every one of my listeners absolutely know, I talk about it every time, that my mission in life is to be my very best self. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, there are those, and I'm sure you encounter this, Heather, that believe that that's a very narcissistic approach to life. Mm. But to be honest with you, it's the most healed and loving thing to be my best self. And when we are living in our best selves, the natural step then is to help others live in their best selves. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you go on, you talk about, as a professional coach, is known for your specialty in a woman's journey and serves her clients by drawing out their natural strengths and motivated direction. Mm-hmm. And then you went to your 3 C's. She guides her clients into clarity, confidence, and courage.
Yeah.
And that's just what you talked about. Tell us a little bit about you and your personal life and how you got to this point.
Well, I started out as a teacher of little third graders and absolutely loved them. Yeah, they were just the cutest things. We learned so much from children. And what I learned in the teaching profession was the 9 months it kind of takes for us to go from 3rd grade to 4th grade. As we live in our regular world, we're hoping that we can get whatever we need in like a 2-hour workshop, right? We don't have this permission to give ourselves what we need. So I've set up my whole coaching practice around what I learned in teaching, to be honest. And then I moved up into university level, teaching quite a bit in universities, consulting. And then pretty soon I said, you know what? I am so passionate about humans learning and growing. And I started out with women. I didn't realize in my research that I thought was a women issue was an actual human issue. Yeah. So the allegory I love using that I started out with, it's about this, and it's on Amazon. You guys can get it. I actually put it in a picture book. People think it's a children's book, and I'm like, not really. It's an adult allegory, but the simpler we can make it, the better. But it kind of shows my research. I mean, who wants to read a dissertation? Nobody wants to read a dissertation. But we'll read a 7-minute little picture book, and it just hits home. And it's about this little girl who's given a gift. And as in her first gift is this little bracelet. She loves it. She cherishes it. She just enjoys it. And she spends time on her tire swing, and she just feels wild and passionate, free. Well, as she grows older, she gets more and more bracelets throughout her life till pretty soon, as she emerges into womanhood, she can't go on her tire swing anymore. And it's not until she goes and spends time under the stars that she begins to realize, I've lost my sense of self. Mm-hmm. And more importantly, I put on these bracelets that go all the way up to my shoulder now that prevent me from doing what I love. What I'm really trying to call out is this permission to take off your bracelets, to analyze your bracelets. And that's the conversation that a lot of us don't have. More importantly, to go find your tire swing, because when you go find your tire swing, that's when your clarity, your confidence, and your courage goes up. But if you're sitting there trying to manage 1,000 bracelets on your arm all the time and not giving yourself that permission to choose the bracelets you want to keep and don't keep, what happens is we begin to disappear and lose our sense of self. And it's not till she goes under the spends time under the stars that she hears a voice on the wind that says, take off your bracelets. And whatever you want that voice on the wind to be, I don't care about that. It could be God. It could be a sense of self. It could be love. It could be the universe.
Could be source. It could be any higher guide, higher self, your guides. I mean, it doesn't matter what word you put on it. Yes,
exactly. But there's a sense, there's a pulling and a call in our world to return to your true self. Are you going to listen to it? Or are you going to listen to all the people who are wanting to put bracelets on you? And I think why this conversation is so important is some of these givers in our life that give us bracelets, they're good people. We can see the toxic ones and the dysfunctional ones, right? As we get older, to be able to say, oh, I would love to take that bracelet, but I can't. And part of it too is this feeling where bracelets are all bad or good. I go, no, it's not. Welcome to adulting. I've got 2 kids and a marriage of 31 years and a company I'm running. These are my bracelets I'm choosing, and I'm going to choose them well. But the shadow side of success that I have learned as my world grew, and I'm working now, I work around the world. I want to say yes to so many things.
Yeah.
The shadow side of that is learning how to reconcile the disappointment that people are going to feel when you have to say no to a beautiful opportunity, but you can only do so much. And what does that do internally for you?
Yeah.
So in my work with people now, they'll get on the line with me. They're like, Heather, I need help with my bracelets. I need help finding my tire swing. And I go, yep. So they know, and they have the language now to own. What is it they're struggling with? Have they lost their sense of what gives them fulfillment? That's your tire swing. That's what I call an active rest. Have they lost their sense of who they are? Well, they need to go spend time under the stars and listen to that voice on the wind. These are 2 things we have to do to go back and really say, I think I'm done with this bracelet. And I'm just coming out of a month-long sabbatical. Every July, I take it off. And this is my time to really assess which bracelets I'm going to return to and which ones I'm going to say, yeah, I'm done with that one. And I can't do it until I take time off. That's my tire swing. That's my time under the stars. And I think particularly in North America, the pace that we're running, people don't like to believe me, or they're scared to believe me. That I'm like, let's go find your tire swing. Let's go find your time under the stars. Well, they're terrified to get off that hamster wheel, right? They're terrified they're going to be left behind. They're terrified that they're going to just drop a ball or something. I'm like, no, it's actually going to increase your clarity, confidence, courage, so you can choose the life that you're stepping into.
Wow. I wish, Heather, that I had been able to learn that lesson at age 30 or 40 or 50.
Yeah.
At 50, I started to learn that lesson. And it really wasn't until after I retired, at 65, that I began to realize there was something else that I had lost in trying to manage my life and to be everything that I felt I needed to be. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to talk to you about your exact allegory with bracelets.
Mm-hmm.
I had made a decision that who Mary Crafts was and what she looked like. And the more things I could put into that box, the better I thought she was. So my jewelry box was 2 armoires.
Yep.
I have probably 100 necklaces in there now. I only wear these, and I wear them every day. I never take them off. I had 24 purses lined up in a closet on these little things by my back door, so that every day I could move the things in my purses and change and make sure I had the perfect purse to go with my outfit.
Great allegory.
And I'm looking at all those things that I had put into my life that I thought were in the box of who Mary was. And if I didn't do them, then somehow I was less than.
Yes.
And finally, one day I thought, what could you do with your life if I didn't obsess with the purse, think and stand in front of that jewelry box for 10 minutes, for this, for this, for this? I suddenly created 30 minutes a day for me. 30 minutes. Now, you know what that 30 minutes can do for a power woman.
Yes, yes, yes.
And instead, I spend that now outside in my metaphorical tire swing.
Oh, it's beautiful.
In my garden with my birds and my music and my meditations. And that 30 minutes is more about who I am than any number of bracelets or purses or putting into my box of what I thought I was.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you learn to stop receiving them too, right? No, I don't need another bracelet. I don't need another purse. We're good. Or I'll take it and I'll pay it forward to someone who does need it or want it. And I think there's that permission, again, to choose. And we don't realize how many things we have stopped choosing on. My call to humanity, and like I said, I've got a majority of now clients that are mid, they get on the line saying, I need help with my bracelets. I need help. And it's a feminine allegory, but they get it. And I get pictures sent to me all over the world because I tell them, I'm like, send me a picture of your tire swing. I get these random pictures of them floating down the river. Here's my tire swing. Here's me reading a book with my dog. I love that. And then the other thing that's exciting to me, and story just really transfers over all the different generations. And I get pictures of these little kids that are reading this and they're telling me their tire swing, and out of their child mouth, we're hearing their wisdom because children know what their tire swing is. As a third grade teacher, I always joked, you don't want to get between the children and the door when the recess bell rings. They cannot wait to get out there, and they know their tire swing. The sadness and the grief that I witnessed in my research was it's around the 20s, 18 to 20, particularly with our young girls, which I was studying. We are losing them, and they're beginning to spiral down in their 20s because no one is helping them manage their bracelets. And I call it a little bit of that good girl syndrome. I love the little rebels out there who are like, I'm not wearing this bracelet, doggone it. Maybe said it in 5th grade. And I'm like, you go, girl, But I think also I realized, I'm like, oh my goodness, I have a son and a daughter. And I'm like, it's our sons too. It's our boys. It's our girls. It's our men. It's our women. It's humanity. And the thing I always try and honor, respect is everyone's tire swing is different. Oh, and P.S., maybe your tire swing in your 20s is not the same tire swing in your 50s. Give yourself the permission to evolve. Right. But that takes time and it takes courage. It takes clarity on what your tire swing is and if it's still fulfilling you. It takes the confidence, which is our beliefs around it. Like many of us think, I don't have time for tire swing. I'm not allowed to take that time for myself. And then the last one is the courage. Is all about action steps. I'm like, well, are you going to get on that tire swing today? Just an hour, 30 minutes, 5 minutes. I don't care. I've had to negotiate. I work with these high power players. I've negotiated to a minute. I'm like, okay, I don't care if that's all you're going to give me. A minute. We're going to take a minute for the tire swing. What they begin to realize, like you're probably realizing, is I want now an hour. That 30 minutes isn't enough. Or I want a weekend away. And so the focus really is kind of creating a cadence, daily, weekly, monthly, annually, for how we're assessing our bracelets, how we're spending time on our tire swing, how we're spending time under the stars. That's really what it means to evolve and grow into life. And I'm with you. I didn't learn this until my probably 30s, and it was kind of coming out of research and having children. I go, I want something different for them. More importantly, as an educator and as a coach, how do we start this conversation earlier? How do we start an 8-year-old child saying, I don't think I want to do that today. That's a bracelet that I am wearing over and over. Or I think this is my tire swing. How do we help them find their sense of true self and hang on to that? Mm-hmm. That's where we're going to have a powerful world for our next generation.
I love that. I love both of those things. The analogy that you have created visually in people's mind of these bracelets.
Yes.
And I can just see them.
Yeah. Yes.
I only have
hold up
one
the
on
book?
today, but I could just, let's see. Oh, look at that.
And I got a
That
beautiful
is-
illustrated.
And this is available on Amazon as well?
It's on Amazon. And this is where I've opened many of my retreats, my keynotes, because, story speaks to the heart.
Yeah,
And
I need
I
that
just
book.
opened that up.
I want that book.
Oh,
First of
yeah.
all, I have 3 granddaughters, one 16-year-old, one 14-year-old, and one 8-year-old. And yesterday they were here for dinner, and the 14-year-old came in, and that's exactly what she looked like. She had all these bracelets on her, really not up here, but almost up to her elbow.
Yes.
They were like, and I said, wow, you have a lot of bracelets on you today. And then she began to tell me about each one, and that they were identifying for her what this one stood for, what
Yes.
this one stood for, what
Oh,
this
it's
one
beautiful.
stood for. And I said, as long as each one represents a meaning for you,
Yes.
that it's yours. I love all of them.
Yes.
But be careful the moment you start wearing ones that others are wearing.
Wow.
That-
You could have written
that-
the book, Mary.
That if you want to wear this one because all the other girls have one, then that's no longer yours.
Yeah.
And she kind of stopped, and she stopped for a minute, and she said, Grandma, and she's my one that's going to change the world.
Oh, we need
She's
her.
the one that started gathering clothes and things for the Africans when she was 7. She's the one that scours her neighborhood for glass because she's so afraid people aren't recycling it. And so now she's the community glass holder, people bring her glass to recycle because she knows she's going to make sure it gets recycled. So she's going to change the world for sure. And she just thought about that I actually said those words because she loves her grandma. She respects me.
Yeah.
And she said, I will make sure I do that, Grandma. Thank you. And I have no doubt she's going to relook at all those bracelets. And sometimes you wear bracelets out of community because they give you a sense of community. And I love that. But there's a difference between wearing a bracelet out of a sense of community and wearing it out of being, I know one of your favorite words, a people pleaser.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So I just found Heather yesterday on social media, and I immediately signed up for all of her thoughts. And I was reading through some of your feed, and I came across this one, and I just immediately liked it and listened to the whole thing. And I thought, oh, Heather knows who I am. We're going to be best friends tomorrow.
We will.
Because the post was on people pleasing.
Yeah.
And I am in the process of being a reformed people pleaser.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm still in the process.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Oh, yeah. I'm so glad you brought that up because it's recovery. And, I'm in my 50s now, and I think I got this awareness in my 20s. And I felt like it was always growing into my 30s and 40s and having kids and everything like that. But somewhere along the way, as my world grew, it just reminds me of the addict, right? You have to recognize your weakness, because if you don't, the arrogance can take in and say, oh, I'm good. Oh no, what happened is, I would say probably my late 40s, early 50s, I started reverting back to older behavior, and I didn't even realize it. People were wanting me to show up for different things. And it was part of it like that. Success can be really what I call the shadow side of success. It can be really exciting and wonderful. But when it starts drifting over into affirming me, or I'm scared to say no to people because of their disappointment, and I just don't like disappointing people, I had to strengthen that muscle. And I think of that day you caught me, and I'm laughing because I looked at that one. I go, I think I was coming back from a run. I was all kind of like morning scraggly, and I was huffing in the camera, and I was like, sorry for the huffing, but I got to get this out, people.
I loved it because you were so vulnerable, so real. And it wasn't like, I got the camera just right and my lighting's on and now here we go. It was like, okay, I've been thinking about this. And yeah.
I come up with all my epiphanies on my walks and runs. And so it's always this running joke. And I'm like, man, I got to clean myself up for the camera once in a while. But it's where I get my enlightenment. And then I'm moving right into clients and working all day. And I just want to make sure I get it out. And so I think in that post, I was dealing with, I think, disappointing 3 different people that I actually really like and respect, but I had to say no to, and I could feel the disappointment and I didn't like it. And then I was trying to not feel the weight of that. And I was trying to let myself off the hook, but also give myself the permission to grieve that it's just no fun disappointing. And I think that was important for me to kind of a self-kindness and a self-care. So I was grappling with that on my run going, I'm going to have to say no to these people and I don't want to. And I already said no to one person and I could feel their disappointment and it was hard on my heart. I had to just be honest about that. And when I get out on my walks and my runs in nature, it allows me to be honest with who I am. So I try and give that back to our people out there that are they're grappling with it. And I'm also trying to model, just get out. That's my tire swing. Getting out in nature, taking my walks and my runs gets me in my my clarity for what it is I need to say yes and what I need to say no to. But more importantly, it's a vulnerable kind of sacred space that reminds me, hey, Heath, you don't like disappointing people. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to them. Tell everyone this is why you can't do it. Or even just, you don't owe them an explanation. You just need to say no and recognize it. And I am so impressed with the people that are gracious to me. And they're just so kind. And they're like, we totally understand. And I try and do that. I tell people, people tell me no all the time. I try to get this great guy to endorse my latest book. And I quoted in my book and I'm like, come on. And he's like, I'm so sorry. I can't. And I just, he goes, I'm in the middle of writing my own book. And I responded back, don't stop writing to endorse my book. Keep going. Don't worry. I'll get somebody else. But I thought I wanted him to feel my cheering. And he actually responded back to me like, thank you. And I was like, I know that feeling. He didn't want to have to say no, but he needed to say no because it's what he needed in his space. If he'd said yes to me, it would have been a bracelet that he didn't want to wear. And I don't want to see anyone wear a bracelet, even if it costs me what I want. And I think that's where, if we can stay in that space in humanity of wanting the best for each other and letting go of our own egos of what we want, we're opening up a kindness and a grace space that says, I'm going to be considerate and do goodwill to you, and I'm asking you to be considerate and do goodwill to me. It's a very simple definition of grace.
Yeah. The definition of grace is, in my book, I mean, many people would think it's a very simple definition, and in many ways it is, but it has such an expansive impact.
Yes.
When I was challenged by my circle of sisters as they looked at my calendar and that my goal to write a second book, I said, Mary, you don't have time. You do not have time to write a second book. Do you know that? And by not having time, you're making sure you don't write that book because you're the only one filling this calendar.
Yep.
I'm like, you mean I'm purposely sabotaging myself?
I'm choosing this.
I'm choosing to not write a second book and to play small. Okay. All right. And so they said, so what would that look like? They made me role play. What would that look like if you said no to someone who you really wanted to serve? And I thought about what I would say, how I could say, I really love what you're doing and I would love to spend a time with you. However, right now in my life, I'm being very protective of my time because I'm writing a second book. And in order to do that, I need to protect my time. It does not mean that you are not of value, but that during this period, I'm putting me first. And they made me role play that. And I've been doing so well for the last 2 weeks.
Well done, Mary. We all need sisters like that.
Right?
Yes.
In fact, even this morning when I was going over my calendar with my husband, John, and he's like, Mary, there is no time here for you. There's no time for you to even go to the gym. Stop saying yes. And he goes, if I hear you saying yes, I'm going to come over there and just take your phone and say, I'm sorry, she can't.
That's why I finally got an assistant. She just is a beautiful gatekeeper for me. And I realized I just needed help managing my life and helping balance my bracelets. More importantly, going on my tire swing.
So sometimes we think this grace issue is a matter of we're giving grace to others to make mistakes and have their own space of grace. But Heather, tell me, what is the value though of offering that to yourself? What does that look like? And how do you start that?
So glad you asked that, because you're right. Grace is twofold. It's two-sided. It's got two sides of the coin. It's got to be given to others and it's got to be given to self equally. And when it gets out of balance, it's not grace, it's codependency. It's fear. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's shame. It's guilt. It's obligation.
Stop with
I know. Sorry. I could keep going. Right. So I think learning that grace has to be balanced if it's going to be authentic and if it's actually going to work. That's true grace. That's authentic grace. And I think learning how to say, and I say this all the time, leadership starts from within. You want to be an authentic, great leader? You better take a look at yourself inward, and you better ask yourself the questions that you need to ask, and you better really own what you're choosing. Because when you can do that, you can lead your people into empowering what they're choosing. And it gets us out of a victim mindset into more of a creator for your life mindset. And so I think this idea of grace is so important. And there's 7 practices in my book, but I'll give you an example of probably the second practice I'm thinking right now is questioning versus accusing. And you can accuse people and say, you meant to do that. Or you can accuse yourself. You're really failing right now because look how many people you're disappointing. But a gracious question could be, oh, Heath, why are you sad right now? Oh, you had to say no to 3 people and you disappointed them. Was it the right thing to do? Yeah. What can you do to take care of yourself in this moment? Oh, you can just acknowledge you're sad. You can reach out to a friend, a sister circle, and say, I just need you to stand with me today. I can feel this false belief creeping in that's saying I'm failing because I'm disappointing people. The reality is I am succeeding because I'm putting boundaries down. Yeah. And I can't stay in that space right now. I'm too sad, and it's pulling me into a sense of responsibility. So I love that you mentioned the sister circle, because I think grace cannot be done in a bubble. It cannot be done in a vortex. It requires engagement with other people, but how you choose to invite in grace is really up to you. And so when I have that clarity of this is where I need you to stand with me, I have my sister circle, and I just texted them yesterday. I'm going, here's where I'm flying off to. Here's what I'm really needing. Here's the false beliefs I'm facing. And I'm scared I'm not going to tell the truth. And I needed to tell the truth in this situation. But the people pleasing was kicking in, right? The truth was really hard and awkward and vulnerable. And I remember one of my sisters said to me, you know what I love about you, Heather? You're so honest. And it was just this beautiful sense of, I love you because this is of who you are. And it reminded me that that's who I am. And I'm like, you're right. And she goes, and you tell the truth with such love and clear care. And I go, okay, thank you. You named me again and reminded me of who I am. That was her giving grace to an area that I was struggling to give grace to myself. I couldn't hold it totally. So I needed to have that clarity of asking where I needed grace. And then I needed someone who knew what I needed. And I laughed and I go, well, that's a really gentle way of holding me accountable. Like, what am I going to go do now? Not tell the truth? So I was teasing her about it. I'm like, I love that you love that about me, but I don't really like that you called me out on that. And she just loved me through it, and we laughed with it too. But she knew it was what I needed to remember who I am. And again, my book, the allegory too of the bracelet, the little girl begins to disappear. What's really happening is her identity begins to disappear. She's losing her true sense of self. My sister friend stepped into that saying, remember, this is who you are, Heath. This is your truest sense of self, is you tell the truth, and you do it with love and you do it with grace. And I go, you're right. What am I scared of?
How can that go wrong for you?
Right. Right.
Even though we have all the fear that we build up in our mind, that we tell ourselves, that our gut is saying, don't do that.
Right.
But when you do that and you follow that heart and that grace that's yours,
Yeah.
how can that be wrong?
Right. Right.
Yeah. I always tell people the decisions you make out of fear in your gut, you got a 50-50 shot of them being right. But the decisions that are made out of your heart intuition, they are always 100% right.
Exactly.
So which one do you want to go with? Do you want to go with the 50-50 or do you want to go with the surefire 100%?
Exactly.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, and I also think too that you can be we all need energy to motivate us. You can be motivated by fear. You can be motivated by peace. I think some of the shift that I've had in my 50s is going, I'm done being motivated out of fear. I know it can get the job done. It can get results, but I am 100%. I have a zero tolerance policy now. If I don't have peace, I don't reach for other energies. Peace is the energy that I want to speak out of, work with clients out of, write out of, parent out of, enjoy my marriage, enjoy my friendship circles. It needs to be out of peace, not the fear of disappointing, or did I call you enough? Or did, I mean, those are all these awful traps we put ourselves in, and it's not a true, authentic sense of presence because all we're doing is getting motivated out of fear. And so you might reach for the phone to pick up, to call that friend, or to step into that client call, or to do business networking. But if it's done out of fear, do you really want it? I don't.
It's completely different.
Yeah. I want the peaceful ones.
Heather, I made that shift, began making it in my 50s as well. I don't know why it is we spend half of our lives stuck there before we begin to wake up. But because I watch so many women do it, I tend to think, and men as well.
Yes.
I tend to think that maybe that's the way it's to be.
Yep.
We have to live enough of our life yucky to finally say, I don't think this is working.
Yeah.
And now John and I have only we've been together almost 4 years. But we've only been married 4 months. So not
congratulations.
And I started thinking about this the other day. It's the first relationship I've been in that hasn't been based on fear. Fear of losing him, fear of not being enough for him, fear of not being this or that. And so that fear would motivate me to an action. Oh, I better text him and tell him how wonderful I think he is. I have to make sure that I'm wearing something really beautiful today, so he'll want to make love to me tonight. I mean, do you see what I mean?
Yes.
As opposed to thinking of him and my love for John, and I want to reach out to him.
Yes.
I want to be close to him.
Yes.
I want to initiate my feelings for John based all in love rather than fear.
Yep. And that's one of my last practices. Trust versus fear. You're trusting yourself and you're trusting John. Yeah. I'm so happy for you, Mary, that you found it. And what an encouragement to our listeners. It's never too late. It's never too late.
And nothing is impossible.
And nothing is impossible.
If you set into that. Heather, thank you so much for joining with me today.
You're welcome.
And the thing that I'm going to walk away with and I'm going to keep with me today is that tire swing. I'm just visualizing that and what that looks like.
Good.
And for me, it's going to be pickleball today.
Oh, I love it.
I'm going to make time to take John and we are going to go play pickleball and just not worry about what else is on our calendar. We're going to play pickleball and have fun and spend time together. It's in the 80s today rather than in the 90s. It's going to be beautiful out there. And I'm going to swing on my tire swing on the pickleball court.
Okay, Mary, if you're up for it, send a picture over. You have my personal text, so send it over.
I will. I'll send you a picture. I love that. Heather, you are the most beautiful soul, and I'm so grateful, truly, to have had you on my podcast, and then just to be connected with you, because it asked me on Facebook, do you want more of Heather? I put yes.
Thank you, Mary.
I don't do that for very many people. I'm like, no, I don't want more of that.
Thanks for loving me, too. Just coming off a run and all sweaty and huffing, too.
Oh, you beautiful soul. Thank you. My listeners, please check out all the things that are at the end of this podcast where you can follow Heather and look at Heather. You can find her grace space. You can look at her retreats that she's offering, her personal life coaching. I have never met this woman, but let me just tell you, she has a 5-star recommendation from me. I just love her all. I love you already, Heather.
Thank you, Mary. I think we're kindred spirits. I think we see each other, don't we?
We do. I see you, Heather, because I see
Thank
me.
you. I do too.
And I know you because I know me.
Yes. Thank you.
And I love you because I love
you too.
me.
Thank you. Thank you. What a gift.
And thank you for being with us today in crafting our meaningful life. Namaste.
Crafting a Meaningful Life.